Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing spectacular. I am, as Big Kev would say, I'm excited. How about yourself?
I'm reserved.
Reserved?
Yeah.
Like the Federal Bank? Oh, Rachel, what are we here to do on this podcast known as Yum Yum? I see that we're exploring the Expanse. The Expanse of what?
The TV show.
There's a TV show called Exploring the Expanse?
No, just The Expanse. And unusual for us, we aren't rewatching this particular sci-fi television program. We are both watching it for the first time.
We've come a long way since we first started this. You used to think it was a show from the 1960s.
70s? Thank you.
Okay.
Anyway, we bring the Yum Yum perspective, which Ryan will now explain.
Yes, as a husband and wife team watching through and discussing episodes of science fiction television, we need to have the Yum Yum, which was a moment of pure bliss from Star Trek Discovery, a series that we were so inspired by that we had to start this podcast. And in that series, Academy Award-winning actress Michelle Yeoh was in a scenario in which she was given a script. Script is loose term for what it is. I would call it some toilet paper with some random scribbles on it. But her character was talking to another character about whether or not they should hurt the antagonist of that season. A very normal, rote, tried and true thing that you get in a series. Heck, even The Expanse does that from time to time. And this other character, acting opposite of future award-winning actress Michelle Yeoh, she licked her lips, flicked her hair back, and responded to a rather innocuous question with "Yum Yum," and that was so absurd and wonderful that we bring it with us everywhere we go. And that even includes The Expanse, where we talk about that, as you said, Rachel, for the first ever time we're watching this through, and that means all of our takes are fresh, hot off the presses. And do you know what episode we are going to be discussing today?
Pyre?
That's correct! Season 2, Episode 8, Pyre. And the description is short and sweet according to IMDb, and it goes as such. Naomi tracks down signs of proto-molecule, and Fred Johnson's control over OPA collapses. Those things happened. They sure did happen, and I acknowledge that those things did take place.
We just saved your life. Call it even.
I know we've had our differences.
But if you find the proto-molecule on Ganymede Station,
I sure as hell ain't gonna bring it back to you.
well, don't bother to come back here at all. You will no longer be welcome on Tycho Station.
We brought up all of that yum-yum stuff, all of those yum-yum sensations, because we like to have a little bit of fun here on the podcast, where we say, what made us want to lick our lips, throw our hair back, and say yum yum? Because when that happened in Discovery, it was such a sexually charged moment, and The Expanse is a series that can be sexually charged from time to time. Just to have a check-in, Rachel, are you happy with the level of horniness that this series has?
It's getting less horny. And, like, the main source of horniness is Naomi and Holden. And they don't bring the yum-yum. They don't bring it.
They don't get you licking your lips in this episode?
No. They share a nice tender moment, and I don't care.
Wow. So I am disappointed majorly in the horny factor of this series.
We started with 0G sex.
This season opened up with sex as well, with Naomi and Jim, and it's very dry when it comes to that, the sexual stuff, and I they bring it up every now and then, and
it's not a sexless show, but the horniness keeps on dropping.
It is dropping, and so I'm looking for any breadcrumbs to eat off the floor when it comes to Pyre. And look, Chris Jen was not here, and that I noticed that. So
You always do.
always do.
You always do. You feel her absence in every scene,
Yeah.
let alone a whole episode without her.
There was no point where I had to loosen my belt, because of just how much excitement was happening down there. So I guess I'm going to have to choose Johnson's right-hand woman shooting a bunch of dudes.
That was going to be my pick.
It was pretty sexy.
It was really bad.
She's what we call a badass bitch. She's a boss bitch. She should be in charge.
Yeah.
Johnson, step aside for the real belter queen, whoever she is, because again, still haven't been given a name. She got a little pet name from Anderson Dawes last episode, which she dismissed and said, "That's not my name, don't call me that." And then we proceeded never to get a name. And I know who her character name is because people have told us. But guess what? The show hasn't said it, so don't blame me, blame the show. But Rachel, you agreed with that, but
Yes.
You have a little game that you like to play all on your own.
I do, and I am regretting that choice. Because Amos hasn't been very yum lately. You like dirty, disheveled Amos.
Oh yeah, he was a step away from belching. Wasn't he? Putting his hands down his pants and flushing a toilet next to him saying, "Peg."
Oh, okay. The full hand down the pants, scratching the balls.
How good would it be if Amos was played by Ed O'Neill? He would have that quiet, brooding anger that Ed O'Neill has in a lot of his roles. He would play it like he did in Wayne's World. So, are you going to admit that there is no automatic Amos pick in Pyre because he's just too depressing? Because I actually have one that isn't the belching. When he threw,
I want to hear yours. I do have one.
When he grabbed Alex and threw him over that stairway area, he his muscles were bulging and Alex was afraid, but I wasn't because I know that guy's in control. Even though he's losing control, I knew he was in control because look at that. He had form, he had dignity. It was almost like a dancer's move.
He was giving Dolma energy.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
And that was going to be my pick, too.
There you go. So we are unified when it comes to the Amos selections here. Pyre, episode 8 of season 2, is following on from where we have been going in the season overall. Every episode has been bleeding into the next. The domino pieces just keep hitting the next one after it. And I liked Pyre overall. I thought it was good. I didn't like it as much as the last episode or the ones before it, but there's nothing glaring about it either that makes me think of it as less than. It just does a very good job at what it is doing overall. It is very efficient.
It hits the mark, but I don't feel like it hits the spot.
What it's lacking is the great scene. We have had the great scene or the great scenes in the previous episode. This didn't have a standout moment to me. It just was all very well done.
Yeah, like the moment where she shoots everybody on the sort of command center of Tycho was like the moment of this episode for me, but that wasn't the scene.
Yeah, it was a great sequence, but there was no Mormon conversation, there's no lasagna scene, there's no Christian phoning her husband. Everything was just slotting in nicely, and that's it. I give it a nice little thumbs up of like, yeah, it made me smile, made me keen to see the next episode, but it didn't leave me quaking in my boots like the last few have. What about you, Pyre, overall?
Yeah, it's like, after this one, I don't mind that I have to wait a week to watch the next one. It's just fine. It'll keep simmering.
We have traveled far together, my Baratna. But this is where we must part ways. Ever since I found you broken, looking for redemption under a belt and knife, I have tried to teach you the Belter way. I have failed.
We have a new character, Ryan.
Yeah, her name's Bobby, the Martian Marine.
No. She's been here for a while now.
Well, you say that, but I feel like we've only just started to get to know her in any way, shape, or form, and
No.
she's going to converge with one of the other stories, yeah?
Development.
Yeah. Put that to the side. Yeah, so new friend.
Traumatized daddy. That's what we've got now.
Oh, okay. So tell me more about a traumatized father figure.
So we have a little bit of a flashback situation with a new character, something that they've done before, but it's usually set in the past.
Like way further back.
Mhm.
Well, this is flashing back
the-
to what happened in a previous episode's point of view.
The drive guy a couple episodes ago.
Yes.
What was
Epstein.
his- Epstein.
The Epstein Drive. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had his story. We had Fred Johnson's background as the butcher. Yes, we've had a few.
Yep, we've had a few. So I was like, random person. Okay, this feels like a flashback. Okay. Where and when are we? And it's like Ganymede. It's like,
Yeah, I figured that out immediately because he was working on plants
Yeah.
and we knew that there was botany stuff
Yep.
happening on Ganymede, that it was an agricultural area. So I kind of twigged it before the glass fell down. And
yeah,
we got
I
the
had my
fight above.
suspicions because you brought that up last episode. So he's there, he sees his child, conveniently has her name on her backpack.
A cool future backpack. Did you notice that it's a future backpack with like little holograms shit on it? Very convenient.
Definitely doesn't just look like a mail order backpack that you get. And then you get all of the stickers that have names on them so that you can put them on their lunchboxes and
Yeah,
shit.
it also had like little Hello Kitty style artwork on it, which I thought
it was very
cute.
cute. It was very
It's those little details that help give
nicely done.
things extra nuances because you pointed out it has her name on it. Obviously, this is a pretty wordless sequence where we understand that's his daughter. She's going over there. He's over here. He's working. She's off to go to school or to play or to go somewhere else in this wild setting. Because again, this is a wild setting. This is a station in space. Like this is on Ganymede. And it's just... we have to remind ourselves of just how wonderfully over the top that is because, yeah, it does lead into the glass falling down above them, like falling from above and just ruining this man's entire life. Now, I'm going to point it directly at you. Did you think, with what we were presented there, that she died?
No.
Okay. See, I did get tricked because I thought, oh, she's right there, and then the glass fell.
No, but like there's a sort of fade effect that happens around her, which made me go, oh, this isn't real. Whatever this is, it isn't quite real. And then we sort of jump out of that, and he wakes up, and he's on this ship, talks it over with another refugee from Ganymede.
He has a massive stitch on the side of his head, like stitches on the side of his head. So he clearly has survived this big incident, but has been injured.
He has that in the sort of dream sequence before he even gets injured in it, which is a nice nod to it being not quite real.
Not quite right.
Because it's just like, that doesn't make sense. Why would he have that before this thing happened? And why would he not be acknowledging that he'd just gotten wounded in it if it was something that happened before?
And when he does wake up from the dream, and just to really praise this too, we have been conditioned that the flashbacks that we get in this series often are from a greater period of time away from where we currently are. So like, oh, here's what happened to Julie, and like the rundown of everything that happened to Julie, or oh, this is the butcher of Anderson Station, and this happened all of those years ago, and I can keep listing them. The Epstein Drive, that was
But
like...
the Rockhopper uncle...
The Rockhopper uncle one felt more like this was happening just in tandem with whatever else we were doing.
Yeah, but it does stand out.
And this does a better job of making me feel sympathetic for a character who has suffered at the hands of the bigger powers, apathy of the littler people down below. This is the haves and have-nots. This is a man and his daughter being absolutely ruined because of these military figures above blasting one another, and then the debris falls down and ruins their life. But I wasn't expecting us to actually get a glimpse inside of the conflict that we have been setting up these last couple of episodes. I thought we were going to keep following it from Gunny's point of view and what she gets and the clues that she stumbles across.
I thought we would get the peace conference, and we don't.
But giving us a first-person perspective of what happened in there makes it very exciting, and he wakes up on this... More personal. Yes, there's a personal stake in it. It's not just a mystery to unravel for the next several episodes. Now there is a person with a motivation behind it, other than Holden just being very noble hero man, or Gunny just being like, I'm upset that they killed my friends that the audience don't know or care about. But he wakes up on this spaceship. It's clearly a spaceship because you hear the rattling of it. He's disorientated. Everyone's shoved in like sardines. Somewhat reminiscent of what happened on Eros Station when they shoved all those people in to get irradiated.
Yeah. And I was just like, wait, what? This feels familiar. What's going on here? But it's the Belter ship has picked up these people from Ganymede. They've treated him, but just like thrown him back in.
He was still comatose.
Yeah.
We get texts saying it's a refugee ship.
Yes.
So it's going into what Christian said about that we need to treat this as a humanitarian crisis rather than a military conflict.
Yes. So he chats to this lady who's just like, yeah, your daughter's probably dead. That sucks.
She says it way more sympathetically than
that. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But I felt like she was gonna die from the start, so I didn't care about her.
We do learn that this man's name is Prax.
Yes.
And that he was some sort of scientist, some you piece it together that he's a botanist. Oh, you didn't.
He was
mention
working with plants.
When he woke up, one of the first things he does is check on this jar thing that he has in his pocket, like this container that he has, and he opens it up, and it's got mysterious sci-fi light coming out of it, and you, the audience, may believe that it is the blue goo in there because we've seen it be stored in such things. I didn't fall for that for a single second. I knew it had to be a plant because that's the only thing we knew about this guy is he's a dad and he loves plants. So it had to be something relating to one of those things. But the Belters, too, we are shown are very apathetic. They're treating these people as meat, throw water at them and let them fight amongst each other. Yes. Totally like cattle. He's getting up and asking questions, and this guy just throws him off like he's just a dog. Just get out of here. And did you know that the actress that plays the person that is giving all of this exposition to Prax, we are familiar with her.
She did look familiar, but I couldn't place her, and I didn't look it up.
So, to give credit, both her and the actor who plays Prax are character actors. They've been in a million things. They've been in so much sci-fi television. They're Canadian actors, so they've been around the block. But for our purposes, she was in Discovery in the same episode as the actor who played Kenzo. And they were the evil random convicts in the third episode of Discovery called Context is for Kings. And they were just walking around this ship with Michael Burnham just saying exposition in way more clunky ways than she does in this episode of The Expanse. And so she is one of those actresses that is given this type of role in which it is the journeyman role. They're the person who is carrying the information so that Prax, for instance, can actually have a story.
Yeah.
And I agree. I did know that she was going to die as well. It just seemed very obvious, but I liked her. I felt for her.
I'm still sad when they spaced her. But I was just like, oh, no, this is part of him acquiring baggage that will lead him into the main plot. But I was kind of scared that it was just going to be a this episode thing, because it felt like they were putting so much emphasis on it. I wanted it to be the setup of a new character.
Do you ever get this? You can tell when it's not just a new character, but one that's going to be lasting for a while because of how they are framed visually.
Yeah.
And how the actor is portraying it. Now, we give credit to a lot of actors in the shows we cover, whether big or small, and that, if you're a good actor, you treat every single role as if this is the most... No small parts. This is the biggest role of your career. And the actor who plays Prax, I immediately clued in that this guy will be around for more than this episode and will be around for potentially a while, because... I hope you agree with me about this, but he put everything into this performance, physically speaking. Mm-hmm. Just like, you feel like he has lived an entire life, and that the idea that his daughter has died weighs on him so much, as if his shoulders cannot even bear the weight. He's always slumping, and the way he walks as if he has stones in his shoes. It's just uncomfortable.
He doesn't know how to deal with this.
His facial acting, those eyes, and the way he darts his head around, he was just giving a performance that the only way to articulate it is, I am going to be a main character now type performance. Isn't that just such a strange
character energy?
He gives, this is my story. And so he made me comfortable, just from a pure performance standpoint, that we were spending time on this. Because sometimes when you have a series like The Expanse and now you're getting a random side story that hasn't been set up in any real major way, and we're now having to invest in a character that we haven't met before, you can reject it very easily, especially in a narrative-driven show where you are wanting to follow the momentum of where you were last episode.
It's like, I don't need more new things. Because that can happen when it is an ensemble suspense intrigue show like The Expanse is, where you get tired of them adding in new plots. Because it's just like, well, I don't want you to take away from these other things. But it does really feel like they're filling the slot that Miller's death has provided.
Naomi said that you're coming with us to find your little girl. It's a good reason.
I kept on thinking, I'm already attached to these people. I want to know what happens to them. I like them. And then, I didn't just think of that on its own. I thought, Star Trek Discovery has failed to do anything close to this.
Mm-hmm. I thought the same thing.
So much longer. I still don't give a shit about Burnham.
She's our main character.
It's been seasons. And we are introduced to this guy. He has a sad dream, and then he experiences some more trauma, and then can't get help with it. And I am like, I want to see you win.
He goes to Tycho Station, and you are cheering at the fact that you know he's going to connect with one of our actual plots in the episode itself. It's not going to be we're going to have to wait a season or most of a season for him to
Yeah, it's
intersect.
not a Miller situation.
It's not a Bobby situation by the looks of it either. No, we're cutting the fat. We're just going straight to the bone here. When he gets on that station and he does try to seek help and inform them of what has happened, it really warmed me up to the character because I wasn't too sure if he was going to be a guy that was so traumatized from what he has done that he would be too afraid to speak out.
What he has done.
From what he has gone through, that he would be too afraid to speak out. But no,
he wouldn't trust the people in charge because...
And he was right, and he would be right not to because that woman was so ineffectual and she clearly didn't give a fuck, but
it's clearly like, well,
amount.
I can't fucking do anything, can I?
Mm.
Like, you don't know where you were, you don't know the name of the person that did it, I can't do anything for you. Yeah, that probably happened. But also, like, she's potentially a belter who is OPA and is not concerned with the lives of inners anymore.
Well, and she is something that makes us think about Alex because he's also in that scene. We see Prax walk past and Alex is there helping all of these refugees. And what is wonderful about Alex's side of this is he is being so overtly generous and caring and going out of his way to help others. But what's it actually in aid of? So for this woman here, it's her job. It's her job to, I don't know, give them a little spray and pat them on the head and go away. Like, how much does she actually care? Probably not too much. Like, you reach a certain point. And then we get Alex, who cares so much about it, but he is called out at the same time because he is avoiding some of the most important things, which is his own family. Why is that? Why are you here, Alex? And that's a question we've been asking, is if he has a family, why is he here? Why is he womanizing? Why is he also yet still looking at that picture fondly and stroking it and getting all emotional, and yet he is not doing anything about it? What's stopping him?
What internal conflict are we not aware of?
Because this is all following through on how he is guilt-ridden for not being able to help. He feels unable to help.
Thus, he's trying to get Amos to help.
And he had to sacrifice those guys in a previous episode, and he went out of his way to save them before. He was training himself to be really good at the spaceship fighting. Alex is a man who feels like his sense of self is very much inadequate in comparison to everyone else, that he needs to step up more. He needs to push himself more. It's very similar to how Bobby is. It's this Martian mentality of you must keep pushing and pushing and pushing to be a good person, and yet they aren't able to see that what they are doing, even beyond just them having to keep going as aggressively as they are, is good. That is good. Alex is a good dude. He has flaws, as do we all, but he's a pretty good dude.
Good enough isn't a thing that Martians seem to be able to accept.
No, not at all. And I mean, let's just touch base. Where are you at with Alex now? Because we did say several episodes ago that we were not really jiving with what they've been doing with Alex and how much time he's been given, and that his stories always seem to be very small, that they probably take up a minute or 2 or 3 in a given episode. He rarely gets the chance to be in the spotlight when it comes to narrative stuff. He's always been in the spotlight when it comes to doing heroic badass stuff like flying the ship and helping these people. But where are you at with Alex?
I guess I've just adjusted to what they're doing with him. I kind of wish that there was more, but I do have enough trust that I'm like, okay, you're building something slowly. But I do really want some actual payoff because they've been doing that since the start. with him. We just get more questions with his character. There's no resolution. It's just like he was drilling himself after he lost all of those people. Like he felt responsible for their deaths. So he was training and training and training and training, but he hasn't seemed to learn a lesson from that. He's like even more determined to be prepared. And it's just like he just keeps on trying to pull himself up by the bootstraps. And it's just like, are they going to break or is he going to tie his laces? What is going to happen here? Because it just keeps on being like more and more tension without any real payoff. Like even his conflict with Amos, it was left open-ended. And
it's still continuing.
Everything with him is on the simmer. And it's just like, I want him to have more. And it's just like, yeah, it's in the background. He's not part of the major plot, but I want to see him have something.
Is outside of his job as the guy who flies the ship, is there much to Alex when you don't have Amos there? Because a lot of our conversations when it comes to him is in tandem with his conflict and or friendship with Amos.
Yeah, like it's Amos or his family.
And even then, though, we don't know anything about his family. We just know they have existed or do exist currently. And that's why I just wanted to say that, because what there is to talk about with Alex is his conflict with Amos. Amos gets called out on his bullshit from Alex, and Alex gets called out on his bullshit from Amos. Like, they call each other's shit. And we're just left with, okay, Amos could probably kill Alex. We already gathered that. And Alex doesn't know why Amos is acting weird, nor do, like, we do, but we don't at the same time. And there's a difference with Amos, though, which is we have been able to see Amos operate as a character on his own or with a variety of different people. But we are 2 seasons in now, and I could not tell you what Alex's relationship with Naomi is like. They get on.
It's a yes, boss kind of thing.
What's his relationship with Holden like? Yes,
boss.
Like, he's fine. Alex and Amos, they bring out something in each other, but that's it. Like, Alex only gets something brought out in him when it's when it's opposite of Amos, and Amos is such an extreme character. It makes Alex seem compelling in his own way, but honestly, show me Alex talk to Anderson Dawes. What would that be like? He's a Martian and proud, and that's a Belter and proud. Like, give me that. Give me Alex and Fred Johnson working together. Like, more of that stuff, because at the moment, it's been lots of him just grimacing on his own, or him and Amos just having very similar conflicts at the same time with one another. And when we talk about it, let's be real genuine here. No jokes, no funny stuff, no, oh, I find the actor attractive, none of that crap. When that happens, we are more drawn to looking at the Amos side of the conflict rather than the Alex side of it.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, what happened with him and the scientist? What has he done? Why is he looking for Lydia now? Will he look for Lydia? Why is he pushing Alex's buttons? Why is he... like, he's sort of responding to Alex's desire to not be one that's protected, but also doesn't want to put him in danger.
He also sees Alex as just the guy who flies the ship. We need you because who will fly the ship?
You are functional.
But I wanted to go that extra step, because what you did there is, like, we can talk about Amos through all of these questions, which are all valid. Like, this episode is very much raising questions about Amos. Hey, Amos has done this, and we haven't seen him in these other things, so what's going on? But I could go on for a while now about Amos outside of just us like asking questions and theorizing what the answers could be. We can talk about like what his mentality is and what that means to us. Alex, on the other hand,
his relationship with Naomi,
why
he boards in a cat house,
and him grabbing Alex and throwing him over that edge of the ship and saying that stuff. We can talk about what that means. Like, we can say what that does to us as a viewer. But Alex, I can't do any of that stuff. Like, and if I do, it's very skin deep. It's like,
it's not there for you to dig into.
Like, oh, he no longer wears his headphones anymore because he's serious now. Like, that's his big development. Is he no longer wears?
I've forgotten about those.
Yeah, he took them off because he's serious now. I just get so frustrated with it because I liked what we got with Alex here, but it made me think about, oh, it's not much though. It's really not much. And again, I'm more excited by it because of Amos rather than Alex. Amos is the alluring thing here because when you wrap it all up, you want to know why Amos is acting this way. What's going on with him? And we want those answers because it will help fill out the things we already know. And what we already know, we love and we like a lot. While with Alex, I just want answers to questions so that I can be satisfied with saying, okay, he's almost as rounded out as some of the other characters. Like, I'm not even expecting it to make him as rounded out as the others. At this point, I'm like, yeah.
It's like, that's not his purpose.
At this point, I'm like, he could be on level with Prax, who's a guy we just met, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just something with Martians, because we also aren't satisfied with Bobby. maybe it's just Martian characters that just kind of get us going.
We help each other. That's what people do. We help. That's why we have a civilization.
So then why don't you help your family?
What?
They're right there on Mars where you left them.
Amos is very disheveled here, and you said all of those questions a moment ago. What is there that you want to go over with Amos and what he is having had happen to him or is going through?
I think the show is wanting you to question, like, is he just questioning himself, or did he get that procedure done? What is happening with Amos, to Amos, and inside Amos's head? And you don't get any answers to that. You just see him interacting with things. Which, you know, like, it's interesting. But I think we're just hitting that point in the season where it's layering things up and building up towards the next big thing.
Yes.
And I am
building,
craving some resolution somewhere. Because it just keeps on giving more. And it is there's nothing wrong with all of the things that they're doing. I'm just getting impatient.
This is something with the Expanse that's not its fault. We are patient viewers, even though Rachel just had that statement about like wanting the resolution now, but I don't think this is something unusual. I'm sure the people out there listening have gone through this themselves, even with great shows, but there's such an abundance in current media of this prolonging the mystery and engaging the audience and who's Lydia and what do you think it is, and that if you are familiar with at least television writing, it can get a little tiresome after a while, even when it's done great. And so I didn't have a problem with it in this episode, but I can see why you're coming at it the way you are as well, because
I'm just getting worn out at this point in the season, because like it does feel a little bit offset because we're so far through the season, but we had the end of book 1 partway through this season. So it's just like I can feel that we're in Act 1.
Yes.
I can feel it. But we're in like episode 7?
8.
Like, oh yeah, 7th Man. How could I forget?
Never forget.
Never forget the 7th Man. We're in episode 8 and it feels like they're building up all of these things. And I'm like, but we've only got 2 episodes left, which means that I'm just going to be left on another.
We've got like 4 or 5 more episodes, babe. This is 13 episode season. But I just
Why
want...
did I have 10 in my head? It was
that
that
was
last
10 last season.
Yeah.
But the 10th Man. But with some mysteries and shows, this is one of them. Same with Naomi's background. There's a level where I am not putting the pieces together for myself. It is me looking at the series and saying, you'll tell me eventually. You'll get around to it. And it's not to say that I'm not invested. I am, but there's just it's not one of those threads that I'm really hungry to try and pull out and see where it leads me. It's more you'll lead me there at some juncture.
You can't be bothered to theorize. That's not what you want.
No, not with this particular one. So Amos is emotional. It makes you think, did he get the procedure? I don't think so. Mainly because I think it would be pretty boring for his overall arc. I've taken it that Amos's arc is going to be one of a man who was apathetic and or emotionally stunted, but thanks to the course of the adventures and the people around him during the show, he's going to gain more recognizable empathy for the people around him. That's what I assume his journey will be. Maybe I'm wrong.
Very typical.
You're still going to see that quote-unquote monster within him come out when it needs to, but he's going to be able to relate to people on a more human level. And so if you gave him a procedure in which it removed that potential arc, you need a damn good reason. And I don't think there really is one.
It's not permanent immediately.
Oh, sure.
They wiggled that in.
That's true. They may have to just wave a magnet that has a different polarity on his head and then it'll undo it. So potentially. I got my prediction right. Anderson Dawes disowned Fred Johnson, gave him the boot. I tried to teach you my ways, but that earther in you, that inner in you just can't go away. You'll never understand. I have your secret, Fred Johnson, and yet we never get it visually confirmed that he does in this episode. It's just he says
he's flaunting it.
He is flaunting it. He phones up Fred Johnson just to say, "You suck. I don't believe in you. You're on your own now. I am going to rally against you. I have your secret, and I'm going to give it to all of the belt. By the way." The proto-molecule, this guy can lead me to it, and I'm not going to keep it just for myself. I'm going to let everyone have a turn on this bad boy, which is a great threat, by the way. That's a great threat.
Because he doesn't know what it does. And
nor does he care.
No, this is a commodity. So we share things in the belt. We share it equally. And everybody gets some. So this is no different. And it's interesting that Fred is just like, it's fucking out there. Let's just deal with it. And Holden's like, no.
Fred just claps his hands and goes, fuck Anderson Dawes. I'm fine. I'm Fred Johnson. I can bounce back from this. And his right-hand woman says, hey, don't let your pride get in the way of things. Let's just get back to business and treat things. We have to figure out this refugee crisis. And hey, if you handle that well, that may win you some favor. But Fred is clearly over the political game that is the OPA. Now with this having happened, his asset has been taken away. He's been called out rightfully by Anderson Dawes because that's what he was going to do. Yeah? Well, that when the crisis happens next time, which inevitably will, you can come out of the wings with an answer and a solution and make yourself seem more noble because you secretly hid away this This man who can help save the day later. And it makes you look back at what Anderson Dawes was talking about last episode, in which you see good men do bad things, like Fred Johnson does all of the time. And there's the people who are bad, but they believe they are doing good. That's Anderson Dawes. But it doesn't really matter in the end. What matters is the results, is what Anderson Dawes argues. And he's kind of right in this episode. We see that very much so, is Fred Johnson and Holden and so many of quote-unquote good men do bad things because they think it's the right thing to do.
Holden almost killed a guy last episode.
They talk about that, yeah, that he was willing to lose that innocence. But Fred is going to try and tough it out, because that's what he's always had to do. He's trying to tough it out. The Mormons are riding his ass. Earth is against him. Now the OPA has brewing tensions that eventually lead to an uprising during the episode, which...
There's a coup!
There is an attempt at a full-on coup against him, but don't worry.
It's not fully mutiny, right?
No, it's not fully mutiny, but... Since Cortazar is gone, how much of the information is gone? Well, Fred says, don't worry. He doesn't have that. We have all of the data, so we can extrapolate out where the blue goo is. He doesn't have that. He only has the man in his brain, but he doesn't have the man, the brain, and the data. So we
still have assets.
And they extrapolate out where blue goo is. They find it's not where Naomi kept it. It's not that they find the blue goo. They find blue goo where, Rachel?
Ganymede!
Yay! We're connecting all of these plots together. Whee! It's fun! I was actually very happy when they revealed that. It wasn't a shock, but I was expecting them to do it's in this place. I would be like, why is it there? And then Holden gives a look to Naomi. It's like, that's...
Nope, they're not doing that. She does the whole I love you thing, and it's just like, is it because she's scared that she's going to get caught out and he's going to maybe kill her?
No, I think it was just, so you've already cracked open the love you thing, but I have some thoughts on that, and I want to get to it in a moment. But the blue goo is out there, and so them having the data from this mad scientist allows them to say, this will be a new story thread that we go to Ganymede. We have to break our way through the Martian blockade again and somehow get there. And didn't you applaud when Fred Johnson just says, oh, so what are you going to go in there? What are you going to do when you go in there? Just shoot your guns about the place like last time, or steal a ship and ram it into another one?
like it didn't work last time. Why is it going to work this time?
I also looked at it as him, as the show acknowledging how fucking rambunctious and over the top their plans have been thus far. It has never been subtlety. It's always been loud and over the top and brash. And colorful. And it's been enjoyable as a viewer to watch, but it is amusing that it's like, your plans thus far has been to spin around and shoot things and ram a thing into another thing. These are the plans we've done. And it hasn't got rid of the blue goo. It's still everywhere. We keep finding more blue goo. So what's the fucking point? And honestly, same. Honestly, I feel the same way. It's like, oh god, there's more blue goo. There's always going to be more blue goo. Is this what the show's going to be? Is we deal with one blue goo crisis and then another one pops up because some other freak has some blue goo? Or, oh no, Naomi hid blue goo over here? I
don't want that.
We've actually been having a bit of fun because blue goo is a fun thing to say, but what do you think about it as this recurring crisis point in the series?
It's going to get old. Because we've seen what it can do, how powerful it is. So if they're just on the hunt for it and shutting it down, it's just going to get really boring. Even though we understand why Holden is still going after it and still wants to shut it down and try and save the galaxy again.
Well, the blue goo is something that can always keep transforming. So from perspective narratively, you can do a million different things with it. You can make it
I'm saying I will get bored with it if it's just, and we're chasing the goo again.
Another gooey adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
It's going to become like Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Goo. Naomi has a very different viewpoint of how to handle this crisis, and she does not appreciate that Holden withheld information. She does, which is ironic because she's lying and keeping secrets. Mm-hmm. But he at least has the actual excuse of, I didn't have time to talk about it.
Yeah.
I was going from one life-saving crisis to another, and literally I'm in between one right now. That was amazing. And she resents the fact that Holden withheld that there is more blue goo out there because, at least this is how I read it, she is overwhelmed with guilt and responsibility for having hid blue goo. And so it's like, oh, there's more blue goo out there. I know that there's more blue goo because it's my goo. And then reveal, actually, it's somewhere else and Holden knew about this and he didn't tell me. What a dick. What a dick. So... where are you? Thoughts on Naomi and Holden during this all? Because they're locking horns. They're making very good points about where they're coming from. But
yeah, it makes sense. It feels right. I'm not too fussed. That's it. Like, I don't have a lot to say on it because it's one of those plots where if they don't let Holden find out that Naomi betrayed his trust and that she's hidden the blue goo and it just keeps on being a thing of tension that is always there, I'm going to get really fucking tired of it. And I'm already not invested in their relationship because it's just like, oh, lead man, lead lady.
It's very vanilla.
Must bang. And I don't believe that they're in love with each other. I think they've just been through so much. It feels more like trauma bonding than actual romantic love.
I couldn't tell you a thing that they love about one another other than they are. Because since this is a series in which our characters cannot have downtime, they're always on the move, there's always something ahead of them, there's always one thing running after them or they're running after something, you don't get those moments of quiet that help flesh out relationships of a romantic variety. And I do love that we aren't doing the will they, won't they bullshit, that they just cut through that and they just are in a relationship. They are just fucking. But the trade-off is I have to believe that they're in love, and I really don't. So when she says that she loves him and then he returns the favor, I actually said out loud, love? Why? And I still don't know why, other than they are the lead characters. I am not one
it's the
for...
next thing that people do in relationships.
Yeah.
They got together. They don't get to, like, go out on dates.
I just wish...
So now it's the I love you time.
I just wish that more often characters can exchange stories with one another that don't feel like it's just backstory that will hopefully lead us to the revelation of what their mystery is, because her bonding with Holden has been about her OPA history, and we still don't know the extent of her history. So it always just feels like it's a building block and the paving of the road to us getting the big answer to why this character is the way they are or who they were in the past, rather than giving us a personal insight that helps bring out the romance or the connection between the two characters. We cover Babylon 5. We've covered Babylon 5 on our podcast, and one of the key things in that series is the central romance between John Sheridan and Delenn, and they would have conversations. Just conversations. They would be allowed to go on dates. They would have to also do the plot. But what they had were just random conversations about, oh, my father or my sister or this time when I was young. And it didn't just make it so that I can put on the wiki page, John Sheridan's father did this. It was telling us something about him, and the fact that he was willing to say that to the person he's romantically entangled with showed a level of development in how comfortable they were with one another. While with Holden and Naomi, it's like, oh, he tells her that he was willing to kill that guy because he's going dark edgelord mode, and she grabs him and says, don't do that, Holden. I love you as the one innocent man in my life. And it's like, okay. Is it just that they're too hetero? I don't know what it is. It's just they're too... It's like... Even though we've seen them have sex, they feel like such a vanilla, sexless relationship. I don't know. There's just nothing. As people, you and I, who are married, who have been in a long-term relationship, don't you kind of wish that you could relate to these people through the prism of us having gone through the trials and tribulations of courtship and the early stages of relationship and differences of personality and ideology and any of it?
I wish that I felt the awkwardness and the annoyance when Alex is calling them and they're saying, I love you for the first time. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to find it funny. And I was just like, thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex, for interrupting this. Because this means that this is going to stop.
We have joked, made little jokes. People have laughed and had a jolly good old time at us, highlighting every single time Holden and Naomi have a spat. Naomi runs into the arms of her good gal pal, Fred Johnson's right-hand woman. But it is there, right? Like, we're not being silly. That's happened.
No.
Continuously.
Yep.
And when they had their conversation in which she revealed her own backstory and, more importantly, Fred Johnson's backstory with the OPA and how he got connected with them, and Anderson Dawes found him in a bar on the verge of death, and then he radicalized Fred Johnson, I felt more chemistry between Naomi and her than Naomi and Jimmy Holden. They have things in common. They speak the same, like they have excitement when they talk to one another. They have points of reference, and yet they are from drastically different worlds at the same time. Like, Naomi wouldn't handle the Diogo crisis the way that Johnson's right-hand woman would, but she understands why Johnson's right-hand woman would execute Diogo if she was given the opportunity to do that. Like, I'm not being like, Rachel, aren't they just more electrifying when they're on the screen? And what did you think about getting more insight into her as a character, a person whose name hasn't even been given to us, and she's just been a recurring side character, yet we are afforded the time to get her worldviews and her history within the series and with other people? It
is interesting that they're giving that to her. It also just annoys me because it feels like the Expanse just sucks at romantic relationships.
Is there any other romances in this show?
No, not really. Like, Holden and his dead girlfriend.
What was her name? What was the thing she wanted to tell him? Remember when she's like, I don't fucking know. Yeah, I
don't fucking know any of it, but I'm just like, that was the thing, right?
It was the thing.
Yeah, like, honestly, if Naomi leaves Holden behind, betrays him, runs into the arms of right-hand woman...
They're just gal pals.
No, I ship it.
They sit 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
No.
Right, sure.
I want them to be gay.
They're just friends.
Well,
friends, gal pals. Some gals being pals. They're just roommates.
I right-hand woman to be gay and Naomi to be bi.
Why not? Let it be something.
It's the future.
We can do it now.
You don't seem eager for the answer.
Does it make you happy to know there's more of that stuff out there?
If it is, it is. It's better to know.
They rise up against Fred Johnson, the OPA.
Yeah, they fight back.
They intercept the broadcast from Anderson Dawes because one of the people in the control room feeds it to them. And
Well, doesn't he records it and like takes it to them and watches it
he
with
feeds
them.
it to them, like he gives it to them.
Yeah.
He put it on his TiVo and then blooped it over to him.
Yeah. Watching it on the clear phone situation, which I
can't-
still find goofy.
I don't like the clear phones. I think they would be too annoying. I always think about that with future shows where it's like, we no longer have paper, we have see-through plastic. It's like, how the fuck do you read through it when you're just walking around? Like, I hate that. And like, if you have stacks of it, how does it work?
Battlestar with the corners.
Yeah, the hexagon paper or whatever. Stupid. I mean, see-through phone I can accept a bit more. That's fine.
Yeah, but just another, like, we're in the future, so we've got something a little bit different.
But they perform a coup, they shoot a bunch of people, and
They're very successful.
they are successful. They've got Johnson right where they want him. They want the codes to the missiles. They want to use them. And
Send
Fred
them back
is
to Earth.
not going to give in because, of course, he isn't. It's very obvious. And before that,
Also, like, the bunch of his
she-
backstory was how he has a death wish.
He has a death wish.
So it makes sense if how willing he is to die for the cause.
Oh, completely hitting it on the head there. And she is willing to defend him. Like, she is willing to die for him. She is willing to kill for him. And yet also by the end of this, she is also willing to do it her way because when they deal with these OPA guys, she executes them. She shoots these guys in the head and keeps walking. That's not what Fred would do, but that's what she has decided. No, I am going to take that action. I am going to do that.
Also, like, these
They shot
fuckers,
her in the guts.
Yeah. These fuckers fucked me. I'm gonna fuck them.
They did.
This isn't up to Fred.
No, they shot her in the gut, and Fred is trying to help her, and they're trying to hack into the codes.
Alex
for
is
it.
like, one step at a time, and she's like, boom, boom, boom.
Oh, I did appreciate that they have a little thing on the Rossi that is allowing them to spy on the missiles because
that Naomi set up.
Yeah,
Because she's smart like that.
She's smart like that. And then you get some classic Expanse hijinks. This actually made me think of the episode where they flew the Mormon ship out to ram into Eros Station, and Holden was having to deal with the humanitarians, and Miller was with Diogo planting the bombs everywhere, where it's like a classic little caper, classic little adventure where they have to do something. So Amos is outside and he's welding this thing open so he can flick the switch here to shut off the oxygen in the room so that they can be suffocated out, and Holden, the guys, can burst in and shoot people and grab people and save people. It was all nuts and bolts, simple stuff, but I was so happy to see it again, that our guys are just solving it the way that they do. They didn't kick it in like usual, but they grabbed their tools and just got to work, reminding you of where they started as just blue collar guys, just working and grabbing ice and holding it here and there. And so when they have to deal with a terrorist group who has control of an entire station, they just do it the way that they usually do it. Just click your boots together and walk out there, Amos.
Yep.
Get over your angsty bullshit for the episode, because there's
Put
work.
that aside.
Put your overalls on. There's work to do, lad. And there's something appealing about how the Expanse does that stuff. I don't know. I don't know how to quite put it to words necessarily, but there's just something unique and yet familiar when they do that. I just really appreciate when they just give us that blue collar approach to solving a situation.
And they get down to brass tacks.
It's in Star Trek, you get a lot of the technobabble stuff and the nerdy, we're scientists, we're solving it with that. And although someone like Amos is incredibly intelligent because he is an engineer, I just love that it is, all right, I'm just going to go out there and walk out there and grab my welding equipment and just hack this open and flick a switch. That'll work. And if it doesn't, I don't know, we'll figure something out. It's always just like, the attitude to how they go about solving a crisis has that tradey shrug to it of like, yeah, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Like, oh, why is that leaking? I don't know, we'll figure it out, won't we, Joe? Oh, yeah, sure, Bill. And that's how I feel about the crew of the Rossi when they get into this mode. It's just, there's a sweet spot to it that the Expanse always manages to hit. And it feels like it's been a little while since they've hit that. There's been a lot more warring and political intrigue, and we haven't had the kind of the big empty approach.
UN.
A lot more UN
side of things.
How I've missed them. Prax joins the crew, by the way.
Yeah, he's not a guest. He's a guide. And Amos is like, practice with your mag boots.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, what's your backstory? Sad dad? Pretty good. Thumbs up. Gives him a
your daughter's.
Oh, your sad dad whose daughter's in trouble? Good reason. Pretty good reason. He went through his checklist of tropes and ticked that one off as a good one. Gave it 100%. That's going to be super effective later. Because Prax, although worked on Ganymede Station, he has some information, but not all of the information, because there's this pediatrician.
His daughter's been abducted.
His daughter's been abducted by an evil scientist. Another evil. By the way, this show fucking loves evil scientists.
Pretending to be a pediatrician?
Maybe he is qualified as a pediatrician, but I cannot get over that this series, its fucking kink is evil scientists. It's just, this season has had 3 evil scientists, like 3 mad, kooky scientists. It's just, guys, slow down.
We get rid of one, we get another.
We do have the Aussie scientist. We don't know if he's evil, but he is eccentric. So we've had 4. We've had 4 crazy scientists this season. One of them just crazy because his accent's weird. We've had so many crazy scientists, and I, you know what? It works every fucking time. I fucking love evil scientist trope. It's one of my favorites. You could even say it's a cliche. Fucking love it. His name's Strickland. Of course it is. He's Hank Hill's boss. Of course it is. And I recognize that actor too. They showed a picture of him and I'm like, I know you from something. Haven't looked it up, but I know you from something. You're one of those actors too. And that's really cool to have Prax just join the crew. There's no fuss about it.
No, he's just here now. And I am interested to see what happens with him. If he's going to die this season or next, like Miller and that other dude. He got his head blown up and it was really cool to look at.
Do you have any theories or thoughts on what is happening on Ganymede when it is in relation to this new scientist man and the children?
Oh, I think he's doing some experiment on them. I don't know if it's going to be connected to blue goo or if they're trying to, use it to breed superhumans or to, modify children. I don't know if it's going to be something like that, but it's definitely going to be creepy and weird. That's my prediction. I'm fairly certain.
No, I think he's a good man with happy feelings all the time. I think he's just going to do the Lord's work and give them inoculations, and it's just happenstance that he works with blue goo. No, of course it's going to be blue goo. It's the proto-molecule. It's always the proto. It would be actually radical if it was something different, wouldn't it? Like if you found out that he's into cybernetics and he's doing some crazy shit with that and it's not blue goo related and he just happens to be near another scientist who does blue goo work.
He's just working with the same corporation. They have lots of interests.
Hashtag not all mad scientists. It's blue goo. He's injecting the kids with goo so that over time they can evolve into a greater human form that can survive in space, probably, and or super soldiers. Because The more we get into
I don't
it,
want
the more
super soldiers.
The more it's super soldiers.
I
isn't
don't
it?
want it.
I've watched X-Files. I can already hear Lucy Lawless talking about super soldiers, and it's giving me trauma. It's giving me PTSD flashbacks to that fucking awful story in X-Files. But that isn't confirmed yet, and don't tell us. Don't you tell us, or else I'll have to get real mad and get Lucy Lawless on the phone to explain to you in vivid detail why super soldiers are actually a menace and are actually dangerous. But that's really all I've got to say on Pyre. Any moments for you that you want to flag up, or any things that has tickled your fancy that we didn't get a chance to go over?
I did enjoy that conversation between Holden and Fred at the end, where they just lay it all out, and you get both of their perspectives. But I don't agree with either of them. And I feel okay with that. And I feel like this show's not trying to tell me that one of them's right and one of them's wrong. And I like that it has that ambiguity, and that's keeping me invested.
Fred's time is up, is the thing. It's inevitable that his time will be over because of everything he has done, even if it has been for quote-unquote noble and good reasons. And so the episode, I think, sides with Holden because the triumphant music plays when he says it.
Wins. He wins.
And it ends on Fred standing in his domain alone. What is he doing this all for? And you're not welcome on Tycho Station. What makes you think you'll be running it by the time we get back here? Just... look, Holden's such a plank of wood with googly eyes sometimes, but hey, when the opportunity arises, he can fucking throw burns out there like no one's business, and that was a great moment.
Yeah.
Stephen Strait, he does a great job when it comes to those lines. He knows how to chew through them, and it's always exhilarating. And I was glad that he got one here. He actually got a few good zingers in this episode against Naomi as well. I was actually very happy. I'm like, yeah, man, you tell Naomi. She needs to get her head screwed on straight. Not Stephen Strait, that is.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
On a scale of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good, what would you rate Pyre?
Yum. It's just fine. Like, it's not good. I won't remember it. It's just so much setup, and I don't care a lot. I'll be like, oh yeah, other things happened in that episode where we were introduced to Prax. Yeah? Yeah. Surely other things happened in that episode.
Yes, I share some of your concerns. I don't have the overt disdain for it being set up. I'm perfectly fine with setup, but I need a little bit more character stuff for me to be pushed through it all. And the Prax stuff was very compelling. I'm not going to lie. That was really nice, and I am looking forward to seeing how he adds to the series going forward. But I thought it was good overall, but look, I'm going to give it a yum yum.
Yum.
As an episode itself, it was good. Very, very, very good. But if I had to grade it against the previous episodes we've been watching, it would be a yum. It's not as good as them, but as just a piece of entertainment, as a piece of television, this is good TV. This is great television, in fact. It does grip me, and although this one doesn't have the scene for me, it still is hitting its marks very well. Now, are you ready to hear what the next episode is?
Give it to me.
This is a very good title. The Weeping Somnambulist? What's that called? The Somnambulist, where, isn't that the people who sleepwalk? Isn't that what that is? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
So that will be episode 9, and we have no clue what's happening in that. not reading the description, not looking at the thumbnails. I don't know.
I feel like I want some more doors. I want to see him. I want them to... I feel like we're stepping away from Tycho, but I would like to see more of the fallout of the coup on the station. I am interested to see Holden and Naomi interact with Amos, because he's in this weird zone and, like, you know, he disappeared, but Alex had interactions with him this episode, but how are Naomi and Holden going to react to him, especially with Naomi being, like, the person that's known him the longest?
It is funny that Holden, being the straight man that he is, being like the do-gooder, he's the person on the crew of the Rossi right now that doesn't have any bullshit drama going on.
No.
Like, Alex and Naomi disagreed as well. She told him off for, don't tell me who to kill.
I loved that line.
I loved it too, but at the same time, I threw my hands up in the air and said, what else was he supposed to fucking do?
like,
It's supposed to be a team.
Yeah.
And it looked like you were going to go into a gunfight. Fucking give him a break. He's a dad who doesn't want to see his family for some mysterious reason. Yeah. I just want... This is all I want. The next episode can do this, but just the season. Make Bobby good. Make Bobby a character that I feel like has been worth the time given to them. The next episode, I want it to be Bobby goes to Earth and has to do the peace conference. And she meets Christian and Ehrenreich and the Secretary General, and we learn some more about Martian life and politics. That's it. That's all I want the next episode to be. I
want that soybean to be important.
Oh, Praxis soybean?
Yep.
Chekhov's bean, as we call it. Wouldn't it be great if that actually does have a payoff?
Yeah. I want it to actually matter. I don't think it will. I think it was just a red herring for this episode, but
I think there's some personal attachment that we will get more of during the series. I would like it if it was a case of, oh no, I've been gravely injured and I need a healing object. One soybean to give me that extra little point of life energy. That would be killer. But do you have any?
He feeds it the soybean.
Oh yeah, feeds
to the blue goo.
Oh, that would be, and it's weak to beans, soybeans. That's why that station had to be destroyed.
A soy allergy.
It has a soy intolerance. That's so good. It can't adapt to that. You
know what is also so good? The Gaunt Belter.
Oh man, I thought you were going to say that the other thing that was great is the big, dumb OPA guy that we loved in those first several episodes actually became a character who led a coup and got killed.
Yeah.
We didn't say it, but man, I really liked that they made him a fully fledged character.
Beefy Belter.
R.I.P. Beefy Belter. They keep getting rid of the belters we like.
Yeah.
Gaunt Belter, Beefy Boy Belter. Who's next? Who's next? There's going to be, in third season, there's going to be a cool belter random side character that gets no real name or has no real function, and that will love them, and then they'll kill them off in some hideous way, and I'm going to be real upset, #cry about it. But the Gaunt Belter, he was not here. Anderson Dawes was, so there is promise that the Gaunt Belter could appear again. So let's hold out hope, but in the meantime, people, you can find us on your social media of choice under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. If you have enjoyed the things that we have done here today, throw us a rating or a review on whatever podcasting site you use. It would be greatly appreciated. And or just follow us on those. Make sure to subscribe and hit the links and all of that stuff. We include everything in the description of our episodes, including our email address, which is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
If you want to contact us more directly to inform us on things that you want us to know about. But remember, no spoilers, because we are watching this through unspoiled, first-time viewers. We give this over to our Patreon first. And Rachel, how many bucket loads worth of content do we have on the Patreon right now?
So many. So many.
We give this over to our patrons first and then over on the main feed. So if you're listening to this on the main feed and you want to hear us talk about episode 9 of season 2 right now, then head on over to the Patreon and you can hear the back catalogue of work that we have on there. But we better skedaddle, we better run out of here because I hear someone chanting dusters. And he has a very thick yet gaunt belter accent. Could it be them? Could the gaunt belter be on my street right now? Or am I hearing him through your device that you're listening to us on right now and that the gaunt belter is outside your door? How about we all stop what we're doing right now, turn this off, and go outside and see if he's out there?
See you then. Well, voila.